Hey everyone, a live stream running a little bit late because I am time shifted. I'm in Asia and I'm like 13 and a half hours behind. And I'm a little confused, truthfully, as to what time it is. But either way, I wanted to do this on Tuesday, but I had just gotten off a flight and I was incredibly tired. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get on and be able to keep my eyes open. Then I was going to do it on Thursday, and then the markets were closed because President Carter died, and that was the day of his funeral. So here we are on Friday, and I think, let's see, what time is it in New York time? EST right now is 11:30. So it's about an hour earlier than what I would normally do it. So hopefully some of you could come on. It is 12:30 here. So like if I'd waited another hour, for 1:30, I might fall asleep again. But either way, welcome to the live stream. I'm going to try and get it more together next week so that I can be on at the right time. But either way, today let's talk a little bit about what's going on. I know there's questions about Bitcoin, questions about the markets, and truthfully, there's a lot going on that is out there. So let me quickly do the legal disclaimers and disclosures and then get into it and throw the questions in into the comments so that I can answer it. So legal disclaimer disclosure, which is that this live stream and the content from ATG Digital is not investment or financial advice. It is presented to you as opinion, information, engagement, and entertainment. All ATG Digital content may contain errors, oversights, and mistakes. Understand that investment operations, which is what, well, buying or selling stock, crypto, options, etc., have significant risks and can lead to the loss of your principal. Bottom line, you could lose money. You're not guaranteed to make money just because you have a subscription, just because you're like, well, Paul said this and it's going to definitely happen. No, that's not the way the world works. I can get things wrong. I make mistakes, or you know what? It's like it's chance. Yeah, there's risk. Stuff happens. The owners, employees, contractors of ATG Digital, we own, trade, transact with securities. I mentioned in this video, and all the content from ATG Digital. We do not take money from companies or from crypto sponsors, tokens, etc., to recommend their stocks or crypto tokens. Um, so for better and for worse, for gain and for loss, whatever you're getting is our own unique, independent point of view. Here are examples of the free content we put out. We've got the Substack, which goes out pretty much daily, unless it's a market holiday, like yesterday. We sent a note out. We got Ballman Speculating Podcast. I did 3 podcasts before I left. And then obviously I'm on YouTube and social media. X, I'm pretty active on X, somewhat active on Instagram. I mean, I've like discovered this whiteboarding effect, and I put out messages there primarily about Bitcoin, sometimes about Tesla, a few photos from my travels here and there. And then if you want a subscription from ATG Digital, well, you go to atgdigital.media. How's the sound, by the way, guys? Is it reasonable? I'm just using my laptop. I was going to bring a microphone, all these things, but I didn't find that the quality of the sound was better when I tested it. The microphone on the laptop seems to be pretty good, so I'm just going to go with that. Okay, let's get to the matter at hand here, all right? Which is that in 9 days' time, Donald Trump is going to become the president, and we are going to have Trump 2.0. Unlike Trump 1.0, this is going to be a very, very different economy, a very, very different market, because so many things have changed, right? There's obviously Trump, and there's trade policy, in particular tariffs. That's a big deal, right? That's going to definitely change the entire character of the market. It's going to favor companies that produce in the United States. And equally, it is going to disfavor companies that produce overseas. So you got winners and losers. So this is the first big change, which we really haven't had for pretty much since the bull market, like, after the global financial crisis. That has pretty much been it's like the tide that lifts all boats, right? I mean, from 2009 all the way till essentially 2024, all different assets at various different times somehow got bid up in some way, shape, or form if you waited long enough. Pretty much every asset, real estate, stocks, obviously crypto, etc. Well, we are not in that environment anymore. The Trump administration is definitely going to create a world of winners and a world of losers. And one of the basic characterizations is going to be, if you produce in the United States, you're going to be favored. If you produce outside the United States and the country in which you produce does not offer equal terms on trade to people who produce in the United States, yeah, you will pay a tariff. Even if you're an American company and you want to import things into the United States, you're going to pay a tariff. The vast majority of the world for the last 30 years has been taking manufacturing capacity and jobs and moving it to China and other places. What are they all going to do? I mean, those trading policies are not balanced. In other words, the United States offers access, almost unfettered access, except in certain industries, for products and services, while we don't always have equal access there. So if you're a company that produces there, you're going to struggle. I mean, so you produce in China, and if you want to move to the United States, you got to write off your production capacity in China, and you got to spend money to put up your new production capacity over here. So you're going to lose, and then you got to spend more money, which is a kind of like a second loss. So the market is going to start to like sort this out, and it will create losers and it will create winners. Who's going to benefit? Well, if you're going to put up production capacity in the United States, and pretty much every American company is going to do this, how are you going to do it? Well, I've theorized and said, well, the no-brainer play is 3D printers. We're not going to put up smokestacks in the United States. We're going to do this in a high-tech way. So we will use new technology. So it's very clear, like, we're going to have the implementation of a lot of new technology that is going to, be implemented. There will be capital spending that is significant as production comes back to the United States. So we're going to have a production boom, a manufacturing boom, and a sort of like a blue collar ish, like I'd say a high tech blue collar boom, where incomes rise for the middle. Many assets will not do well. Any asset that kind of depends on, margins driven by, hey, I produce over there and the labor costs are very cheap. I, export and import into the United States, those companies and activities will suffer. So that's one major change that we're going to see in 2025, right? This new world of global trading where there's the threat of tariffs from the Trump administration unless there's equal access to those markets. We don't really quite know how it's all going to pan out, but the market will not wait for like the policies to be like, dotted and crossed. They will start to make judgments like, hey, they've got a lot of production there. I don't think they're going to be able to compete, with tariffs. So you're going to start to see losers start to approach, and many of the bigger companies in the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100 are, they're all companies built on globalization. So the scenario would be like where the big indices like the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, I think they're going to struggle to do anything like what they did in 2024, which is what, up 20, 30%. Instead, it's going to be a stock picker's market. It is going to be a market for smaller stocks, special situation stocks. So again, very different market. Second big change, we are no longer in the era of zero interest rates. Instead, we are in an era when inflation has been sort of let loose into the US economy, let loose into the global economy, and that has turned the very long term interest rate cycle to where over, and I'm talking over the very long term. Many people like, Paul, what are you talking about? I'm talking over like the next 40, 50 years. What we are going to see is interest rates go in an up and down fashion, but instead of going down, it has been as it has been going since 1980, it is instead going to go up. It doesn't mean that interest rates are going up every single day, every single week. What I mean is, like, we look back 30, 40 years from now, we'll be like, this was an inflection point, and that's when interest rates started on a long, long upward trend. That's another thing that is like a factor in not everything is going to rise with the tide. Lower interest rates, which we've experienced from 1981 all the way to 2021, were just this huge boost to asset prices. The reverse is obviously going to support a lot fewer asset prices. So that's a big change. So again, you have to be quite selective and like, okay, like if everything's not going to get bid up, what's going to suffer? Well, the markets always want growth. So anything that was like just producing 2 or 3% growth, which was, perfectly okay in a zero interest rate world, yeah, that's going to struggle. Things that were valued for their dividends because interest rates were low, they're going to struggle. All those dividend champion stocks and all these things. What will work? Yeah, anything that's got growth. Anything that's got growth that can outpace inflation, people are going to want to own that. So that is a big major shift. And then we also are in this era of extraordinary innovation. I mean, there's just these big trends which are sort of like unrelated, if you will, or like it doesn't really matter what the tariffs are going to be. It doesn't even matter what globalization is going to be. It doesn't matter even what interest rates are going to be. These are technological trends that have such extraordinary and unbelievable power, right? That they offer this huge advantage over what exists, that irrespective of all this, these are going to take off. Like example for what? Autonomy. What? Self-driving cars, robo taxis. Yeah, I mean, this is a technology that is just such incredible power to revolutionize transportation and in the process revolutionize the way we live. So that's going to be huge. And it's not going to matter what interest rates are. Why? Well, because robo taxis, autonomy is going to collapse the cost of transportation. People are going to adopt it. The growth rates are going to be high. So you definitely want some of that. Crypto and fintech. I mean, we've got this new form of money called crypto, which is fully accountable, lives on the blockchain. We've got companies that are built on digital platforms that are cheaper, much easier to run, offer so much more access and convenience than the old school legacy banks. Yeah, they're going to benefit in no big way. Why? Well, because the technological solution is so far superior than branch banking, so far superior than old school, like, I don't know, borrowing money by, sending a stack of paper this thick. These are all going to start to take over lots of industries, and it's going to be irrespective of globalization. It's going to be irrespective of interest rates. Doesn't mean that these stocks are just going to go up every single day forever, but you're going to see big market shifts where legacy companies that cannot really implement these digital solutions in full, and as a result cannot get the full benefit of all these new technologies, yeah, I mean, they're going to get wiped out first slowly and then quite suddenly. And remember, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100 is filled with these companies. I mean, these are the companies that have just been bid up to sky high levels over the last 3 years. Yeah, again, we're entering a world where there are going to be winners and then there are going to be losers. It is not going to be a world in which like the rising tide lifts all boats. That world has ended. And so I think for us and for me, I think this is a fantastic world. Why? Well, I mean, because we depend on single stocks going up. We focus on particular technologies, their capabilities, their potential for growth, or some specific opportunity. So this is a stock picker's market. We really haven't been in this market now for, I guess, I mean, I'll say from 2016 on. It's kind of like all boats have lifted up with the tide. But now we're in this market where I think if you're a stock picker, you should love this. In other words, not everything is going to go up. And if you're good, you should find things that are going to go up. I mean, you have to show some skills, but uh, I think this is the best environment for us at ATG Digital. Like, I mean, I back myself. Excuse me, I've gotten, I don't know, some allergies, cold, something while I'm there. So if I have to cough from time to time, excuse me. Either way, I back myself and our team at ATG Digital to find stocks that are going up, to find and identify the big trends, and to jump on the companies that are at the forefront of it. And equally, also to not get waylaid by, I mean, pumps and things like that, where, yeah, it may last 3 or 6 months, but like we want to be, what we want to be in the big trends, the big money in any new bull market. And there is a new bull market that's underway. And many people think, well, Paul, how can there be a new bull market if you're saying the S&P 500 is going to struggle? All bull markets are not about the indices going up, because you know what? This bull market is going to be about smaller stocks, medium sized stocks, and it's probably not going to carry those big mega trillion companies along with it. Why? Well, I mean, because they're built on globalization. Uh, they depend on, they've depended on low interest rates, like sort of like flooding money in to bid, like, these up. Uh, they struggle to implement big innovation. They need something to be enormous at this point for their multi-trillion-dollar capitalizations to double or triple. But smaller companies, especially the leaders, I think we're going to see something that we're beginning to see. Like, for example, everybody wants to be invested in artificial intelligence, and people will be like, well, Paul, what about this? The truth is that we own one of these companies, which is Palantir. We don't own NVIDIA, but Palantir is trading for 70 times sales. And 70 times sales is a crazy high number. But why are people willing to pay 70 times sales for Palantir? Because there's really no other choice. Like, what other AI company are you going to invest in? I mean, I think there will be more, but we don't have a lot of choice. Why is everybody crazy still for NVIDIA? Well, there's kind of like no other choice. So this is going to be another feature. We're going to see a narrowing of the market to top leaders, and they're going to trade for multiples that are historically very high. And I think if we get out at 70 times, whatever, what we're going to find is like, it's 75 times, and people will justify paying much higher multiples for these companies than we've seen in the past. But it is going to be like a small number. So this is going to be another feature. Bottom line is that we're setting up for such a different market environment than what we have experienced from, I'll call, from 2009 to 2024. And the basic characterization is that those markets, because there were sort of like a mixture of bull markets in there, was characterized where pretty much the tide lifted all boats at various times in various different ways, but it lifted all boats. We're not in that market. We're just not in that market anymore. We will need to be strategic, specific, and you will really have to be like on your game. And I think this is a world in which ATG Digital and our way of looking at the world, yeah, we're going to have incredible returns. I'm so incredibly bullish on the returns. And, you can see it like, in our portfolios. I mean, we've got a lot of stocks that are just like, I mean, they're not like, like up hundreds of percent every day or anything like that, but they're on the 52-week high list and they keep like making new highs, keep making new highs. Why? Well, they're not exposed to globalization. They have high growth that is well above interest rates, and they're fairly new, fairly young, so they have many years of growth ahead of it. And then when the market looks and go, well, where can I find another one like it? And they're like, there aren't. There's only like a few, fintechs that have huge capability, PayPal and Block. Oh, let's bid them up to 20 times sales, 30 times sales. We're going to see this like again and again. Um, so this is what I primarily want to cover, which is that we're in a new market environment for 2025. I think people having the expectation that the S&P 500 is going to rip higher like it did last year, I think you're going to be disappointed. Obviously, people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. It's my point of view. I think our portfolios, which are focused on stock picking around opportunity, which is what? Well, specific events. Fannie Mae is an example. That's an opportunity, like where the perspective of the incoming government is very different than the outgoing government, and it represents a huge opportunity. Growth, which is about companies that can take market share from others. It could be an innovation, it could be because of demographic shifts, be a new brand. And then it's obviously innovation like autonomy. But this is a market that favors us, and I expect us to do incredibly well. I mean, we had a horrific 3 years from 2021. I think things started to get better in late 2024, but I think 2025, I think we're going to see some unbelievable returns. Um, some comments about crypto, um, in particular. I think like this is going to be one of the big winners of this new era. We are going to see crypto tokens and their platforms, sort of like take over financial activity from the old banking system, from the old financial system. And some of these coins are going to just have extraordinary values. I mean, if you're in silver tier, we own obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Avalanche. Um, I think the potential in crypto is the greatest of all the opportunities that are out there. And I'm like incredibly bullish on crypto. I mean, and this is irrespective of, again, globalization, irrespective of interest rates. Why? Well, because the industry is so new, the technology is so new. There's almost nobody that's really implemented blockchain. We're just in the beginnings of this. I mean, we're barely like just scratched the surface. So as adoption increases, utility increases, the value of these tokens are going to cycle higher in a period when the vast majority of fiat currencies are just going to struggle. I mean, I'm in Asia and I was just looking it up. I think most Asian currencies lose nearly 100% of their value in terms of like, against a basket of goods generously every 15 to 20 years. Some of them lose them pretty much 100% of their value in 10 years. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is going to obviously destroy these currencies. So I can do, this kind of thing, like whether it be with Ethereum for the financial system, XRP for all kinds of financial transactions. But bottom line, just extraordinary growth that's coming for us. So if you're a subscriber at ATG Digital, I mean, we're ready. We're ready. I mean, I think my biggest mistake, over the last 3 years is probably we're just too early in the sense that we sat through this horrific bear market. And one of my justifications for staying with it was that Yeah, things are down 50, 60, 70, 80%, but these companies are so young. I mean, they've barely like gotten out of the gate. There's hundreds, if not thousands of percent. And I know we're down whatever, 50, 70%. But when we look back in 5 or 7 years, these prices are going to seem preposterously low. So it's brutal to sit through it, but we're going to be rewarded for it. All right. Because I'm sniffling and I have a bit of a, I don't know, allergy, cold, all of the above. I'm going to stop my comments here. I don't have like a specific set of investments that I want to talk about. I will just mention this, which is that we're in the last days of Bitcoin in 5 digits. I mean, Bitcoin has been in a range pretty much of $100,000 to $90,000 for about 3 months. And based on my study of the 2016 cycle, which is what this cycle most resembles, you'll be arriving at month, I think, 10 post the halving on month 11 of the halving on January 19th. In the 2016 cycle, by month 11, Bitcoin is starting to jump at like 20, 30% a month in incredibly volatile fashion, very volatile fashion. But that's the last month of big volatility. Then after that, it's these enormous jumps, like 100% a month. So we've got one more month where we go higher, but with huge volatility. And then we really, really, really go higher. I still continue to believe and think, based on my research, not a guarantee, that the peak is somewhere over $1 million come between October and December of next year. And from there, we have a crash that takes us back to, I'll say on the low side, 200,000, on the high side, 350,000 dollars. And that is like, where Bitcoin is going to trade in the current cycle. So the exciting times are just about to begin for crypto. And I know there's many people like, Paul, we're peaked for the cycle. Everyone can believe what they want. This is what my research and my understanding is, which is that $1 million is coming. It comes somewhere between end of October and early December at the latest. That will be the peak, and then there will be a decline slash crash that takes us down by, I'll say, a minimum of like 70%. So that's what would be coming. But we still have first to go through the boom. So we're going to go through an enormous boom, in crypto, and that will obviously take stocks like MicroStrategy up, Coinbase up, Robinhood up. Um, Once Bitcoin gets past, I'm going to say $200,000-300,000, the oil altcoin rally will take off. Ethereum will start to hit new highs. XRP will start to hit new highs. Avalanche will start to hit new highs. The decentralized finance coins will start to get enormous activity, and we'll see new highs for all of them in this cycle. So there's just an incredible amount of money to be made in crypto, in my judgment, in my opinion. All right. I see a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to go to those. Continue to throw them in for anything that you would like me to cover. And don't mind my sniffles and coughing. All right. David says, experienced technical issues. That is correct. I apologize for it, but I did have some issues, and I appreciate all of you staying on. I think I got on about 27 minutes late, but yeah, that's the reason for it. And then I also had to like schedule it again because the markets, I was going to do this yesterday, but the markets closed for President Carter's funeral. And I was like, well, if the market's not open, nobody's going to be there. But thank you all for showing up for this live stream. Thank you. I've also missed being with all of you. I had to wipe my nose again because I have the sniffles. Thank you for letting me know about the sound. It's good to know. I mean, that just the sound of my laptop is like so good. Fannie Mae is doing fine. Let's take a look at how Fannie Mae is doing. It was briefly above $5. And sure enough, like, hey, let me share this. I mean, it's good to share good news, right? Let's share this. Share screen. Okay. Let's show Fannie Mae. Look at that. $5.33, folks. Yeah, wow. I mean, I think our cost on Fannie Mae, the common is $1.60. We put Fannie Mae into, I can't remember what service it was at Banyan Hill in 2018, I think. And we added the preferreds in 2020. They're all up between 2 and 300%. And this is a classic case of, like, there's something very different going on. I mean, remember, I've been in the Fannie Mae trade mostly through the preferreds for now 16 years in some amount. And after 16 years, it's pretty clear that I think we're going to have a resolution, which is that these companies are going to be set free. And what's the appropriate value for Fannie Mae? I mean, I've theorized that the stock price of these should be between maybe $30 and $40, but that might be too low because that's just based on past expectations. We don't really know because nobody really knows the earning power of these companies as private companies. And in today's world, what is a duopoly like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac worth? We don't really know. Either way, one thing I can say, it's much higher. If you're in the preferreds, it's the upside is capped out. Let me see if I can. The most liquid preferred, one of the most liquid preferreds is this one, FNMAT, which is in gold tier, and this has a par value of 25. So it's almost trading for 50%. 50% would be 1250, and then sort of like the maximum it could trade for is 25. So you're capped out. That's there. So if you want the big money, you got to be in the common. It's also possible that the preferreds will maybe go back to paying their dividends. We don't know. We'll find out. I think we'll find out pretty quickly in 2025. All right, let's go back to the questions here. Thank you, Cynthia. Great to see you as well. Too risky, insurance through the roof. I don't know what that means. Lots of lawsuits if someone gets hurt. I don't really know, Albert, what you're referring to. Maybe I missed a comment somewhere in there. Miss Puppy Pup, regular viewer, thank you for attending as usual. Greetings, Alex. Yeah, this started to come on like yesterday, and I think it's the air, because it kind of like gets better and gets worse at different times. Hey, Joanne, it's good to see you. Crypto global market is $7 trillion by end of 2025 is what I'm thinking. Well, let's see here. Let's put this up. And let's just like think through this. So the crypto market is 3.27 trillion. This is from CoinMark, 3.27 trillion. And then let's look at the yeah, and you look at the dominance numbers, which is 69% of the market is split between Ethereum and Bitcoin. And my sense is that XRP will sort of like join this duo, and between them, they will be 70 to 75% of the market. But if I'm right and Bitcoin goes to 1 million, I mean, I think my estimations would be that the crypto market would be worth probably about $30 trillion and something in that range. Thanks for being on. Well, hey, I promised I'd come on, and I was going to come on Tuesday, but I arrived here and I was so tired. I was like, there's no way I can do it. So I'm happy to be on, as long as you guys tolerate the sniffles and the occasional cough and maybe a very explosive sneeze from time to time. Thanks for the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac recommendation. Yeah, we no longer have secret portfolio. It's now in the gold tier at ATG Digital. So if you want to know if we sell it, subscribe to ATG Digital, and that will give you access to that. Hello, Wei Hong. Nice to see you. We're getting close on the end of the updates. It's the middle. It's definitely it is 1 o'clock in the morning here. But I was like, well, I've got to do it for your convenience, not mine. So I'm happy to be on. What about Desktop Metal DM? Well, pretty complicated thing that's going on. They had a deal to be bought by Nano Dimension. While that deal was in the process of being finalized, Nano Dimension got their management got the old management kicked out, and new management came in. The new management doesn't really want to buy Desktop Metal, and the U.S. administration doesn't necessarily want Desktop Metal, which is an American company, to be owned by a foreign company. Nano Dimension is incorporated in Israel, and even though Israel is an ally, pretty much the governments, whether it be the Biden administration, I think the Trump administration is going to take the same point of view that they don't want this technology to reside somewhere else. So it's not clear to me what's going to happen with Desktop Metal. My view is this, which is that Desktop Metal stock has just like crashed, which is that either maybe the Trump administration will take a different view and allow this merger to proceed, or equally that the 3D printing market gets hot and Desktop Metal is going to end up doing a big offering to generate capital. And while usually that would cause the stock to go down, in this case, because the stock is being valued like it's almost bankrupt, when they actually raise capital, the stock actually shoots up. That's my perspective. So it is in the diamond tier portfolio, and we're just going to hold it and see what unfolds. Okay. I think I'm going to end this live stream here because, like I said, I'm sniffling away. It's also 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've sort of like covered what I want to talk about, which is sort of set the stage and platform and expectations for 2025, which is what? Very different market, a market of winners and losers, dictated partly by big macro shifts that are multi-decadal, if you will, change in trading like policies, where we want to favor American production and have people buy American goods. That's going to have implications for currencies. So, that'll impact Bitcoin, et cetera. I haven't really talked about that, but I'll write something more and do a YouTube about that. Then we've got the interest rates, where we were in this now 50-year trend where in an up and down fashion over time, we're going to see interest rates go up. I mean, they may stay flat for 5-7 years, but still, we're not going to go back to 0. We're not going to go back to 1. We're not going to go back to 2. Maybe we'll go back to 3.5 or 4, and we'll sit there for 5, 7, or 10 years. But then after that, the next move up is higher, and the move after that is higher as well. So that's something that investors are going to take into account. And when they model the world that way, they're like, well, in that world, companies that have very low growth, don't own their cost of capital, yeah, they're going to be losers. And then we have winners and losers based on sort of the new innovative and technology. In other words, autonomy, for example, robo-taxis is going to displace a number of industries. We can't say for sure, but if I were to throw them out there, regional airlines, because if you can just get into your car and travel 3 hours, why do I want to go to the airport, go through security, sit around, wait for the plane, wait for it to arrive on the other side? leave the airport to go to whatever city. No, you'll just get into your robo taxi and travel. So there's a lot of different things that are out there. But bottom line, I think this is an incredible, amazing environment for opportunity growth and innovation. And our portfolios are already showing it. I think in 2025, we make like a huge, huge amount of money. All right. Thank you all for attending this live stream. Um, let's put this last comment up before I also plug subscriptions at atgdigitalmedia.com. They begin at $9.99 per month. That is for the silver tier. We've got gold tier at $14.99. Compared to what the subscriptions are, we're at Banyan Hill where I was. If you don't know Banyan Hill as well, forget that. Compared to, newsletters, etc., these are very, very low accessible prices. Check us out. They're monthly subscriptions. I think we're going to have some unbelievable picks, unbelievable performance in 2025. So stick around, subscribe, join the live stream, subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up so other people can get to hear about it, and come back next week when hopefully I feel better. And I'm going to have I'm not sure what we'll talk about. What we're going to talk about some like an incredible opportunity. We'll start to focus on one again. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming. This is Paul saying thank you and goodbye.